Hey guys, this is Tyanitis, and today I'm going to show you how to build my morale bomb deck. Pretty much is just like it sounds. The whole idea of this deck is to drain your opponent's morale. So we'll go ahead and load the deck and take a look. Okay, starting with the commanders here, we have Aletta, Immortal Sorceress from Varor. The reason we selected her, she can do damage directly every turn, as you can see. Pay 4, deal 3 damage to someone on the battlefield. And we wanted access to Varor's ability cards. Next we have the Overloaded Soldier. We really don't use him, maybe as a resource dump if you have nothing else to do with it early on, but really the only reason to have him here is because, once again, we want access to the ability cards of the Genesis Industries faction. And last but certainly not least, we have the Sage 3. We will actually be using quite a bit. Not only do we pick him because we want, once again, access to those ability cards from his faction, but his unique ability to double down the morale that's lost every round is one of the main aspects of this deck. Now going to the actual character cards we use. Defense Golem, basically just used there to help stop your opponent from doing damage, because while you're trying to take out their morale, obviously they're going to be going after your health, and there's not a lot of character cards in this deck, so we need to make use of what we have. So that's why I have one Defense Golem in there. 2 Martyr Golems, pretty much self-explanatory. If you know anything about the Martyr Golem, it is a spell shield, so it's very valuable to have in there to keep alive any of the limited amount of character cards we do use. Wealthy Nobles, it's a resource card, so it's used to help get yourself out there ahead of your opponent, and not so much as doing damage with this deck, but pulling cards, because when you're not able to attack or do anything productive, you're better off drawing more cards or trading out cards and using your resources that way, as opposed to trying to do damage to your opponent's fortress. That's not the goal here. Unstable Bombots, we have these. They're basically like an ability card almost, in the fact that you can attack everything on the battlefield. If you don't pay the 2 resource, it will do whatever its damage is to all cards only on the battlefield. It won't attack support zone or anything like that. We have 3 Glorious Warriors. Glorious Warrior, when it is on the battlefield, doesn't matter if it's defense or assault, it will take away 2 morale per turn it's out from your opponent. We have a Sage 2 card here. He's basically his own attack all card as well. Pay 4, you'll do 2 damage to all your opponent's cards. That's commanders, that's support zone, that's everything. But it also will do 2 damage to your own cards as well, so you have to be careful with it. Have an extra Sage 3 card in here just in case the initial Sage 3 does get taken out, which 9 times out of 10 they will go for it. And that's really all that's it for the character cards. Like I said, not a lot of character cards, because this deck is going to be more reactive as opposed to being proactive. You're going to be reacting to how your opponent plays, what he throws out. So character cards aren't really that important here. Going down to your ability cards, your bread and butter, it's all about killing and maximizing damage as far as with what your opponent brings out. So we of course have 3 Assassinates in the deck, insta-kill cards, don't really need to say more about it. We have 1 Calamity just in case you're not able to keep up with the amount of cards that your opponent's putting out. This is wipe the slate clean and help you get a little bit of a restart on keeping up with your opponent. We have 3 Winds of War to deal 3 to all deployed characters. Also works on your own characters, so once again, be careful when you're using this. We have 2 anti-air missiles just in case your opponent uses any type of flying units. It's basically a cheap insta-death against flying units. 3 cannon fires, a cheap way to do 3 damage to a single target on the battlefield. Not a bad card. We have 1 cleanse the land, just in case your opponent tries to pull out a Hellmouth or a Fortress of the Dawn. I wouldn't use this card right away on the land, however, because if it is lands such as those 2, those are meant for your opponent to pump out units, and since you want units on the field so you can do damage and get that morale, I would advise you to let the land stay there as long as you're able to keep up with controlling however many units is put out. If they start to overwhelm you, use this and take out that land. 3 death rays, once again insta-kill cards as long as they are on the battlefield. It's half the cost of an assassinate. So Heat Wave, these are really good against the Flame Dawn, specifically the aspirants. It only does 1 damage to all enemy characters, but if, say, they have a lot of aspirants thrown out, or even a Genesis Industries, if they throw out a lot of drones, this will take out a lot of characters in 1 hit, and it's fairly cheap, and it will not do any damage to your cards at all. Lightning Blast, extremely cheap, does 2 damage, which is it's an alright amount of damage, but where it really is useful is if you're going against any mechanical units, because then it goes up to a 4 damage instead. So it's really good for using, say, if your opponent has a Martyr Golem up and is protecting a whole lot of units, use this on that Martyr Golem before you throw out the all attack or anything like that, so you can kill the Martyr Golem and use that all attack effectively on all of the opponent's units. We have 3 Sage 2 spells here, 2 damage to all characters, your characters, their characters. Very good card to have. And last but certainly not least, we have 3 Sage 3 spell cards. These, once again, just like with your Sage 3 character card, these are very important to this deck because, for instance, if your opponent has, let's say, an Agent Coil Firestarter as a commander, if you're sitting at 10 resources and your opponent still has yet to throw out that Agent Coil, you have 2 of these spells in your deck, you have an Assassinate in your deck. You throw out these 2 spells, 2 Sage 3 spells, and then hit him with the Assassinate. That's going to do 21 morale damage to your opponent. That's almost half of the morale gone in 1 swing. So, I mean, these are very powerful, especially when used on top of each other. So, these are very important cards to have. And that's it for the Morale Bomb. It's pretty simple, like I said, straightforward. It's just a bunch of ability cards, and it's more about you sitting back and being reactive towards how your opponent's playing instead of being proactive and going on the attack. It's a pretty fun deck to play. It involves a little bit more thought, and it can be kind of fun in the sense that I know personally when I'm on the receiving end of a Morale Bomb deck, it irritates the living heck out of me. It's the epitome of what a control deck is, as far as I'm concerned, in this game, and I don't see it going away for a very long time. So that's my Morale Bomb deck, and I hope you enjoyed.